Hi, I'm Matt C and welcome. This is my fourth video on this channel. I'll be getting into some gaming and tech talk as usual during this video, along with possibly some other stuff. Any feedback is helpful as always, so if you feel the need, go ahead and let me know what you think. If you haven't yet, check out my channel and feel free to watch my other videos. In my first video, I talk about my YouTube plans and plans for these videos, and also answer some questions you may have. Quick bit about the last video. So it seemed good video quality wise, so I'm going to render these videos at the same quality and export settings going forwards. Although, as always, any issues you have, please let me know in the comments below. I mentioned this in the first video, and I'm considering doing reviews and lists and collection videos at some point. I'm putting more thought into this going forward, and how I plan to do these types of videos, and how maybe I can put my own spin on them. But yeah, I'm going to be sort of deciding this in the next few weeks, I think, what the plan for those types of videos are. I'm also considering splitting these sometime with Matt videos up. Maybe doing the game and tech topics side of things as like a separate video. This is for those that don't want the game and tech news stuff in the same video as my thoughts on a game or game series. But I haven't fully decided this yet, but I'm planning on having a think about this in the near future. But for now, I'll keep this format as is. And like I mentioned with the reviews and things, I'm going to have a bit of a think about just changing things up a bit, and maybe splitting this off, the two main sections of this off, like the game talk, like about the game I'm sort of playing, showcasing, from the sort of game and tech stuff, like the news, more news like stuff. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. I'll have a think about it, and yeah, it'll probably be a few weeks though before I decide on all that. Gonna have a bit of a thought, a bit of a plan with that before I go ahead and do it. Now, I'm not quite sure what game will feature in episode 5 yet. I'm potentially having a friend of mine guest in episode 5. I think it'll be 5, if not 6, but I think it's planned to be for episode 5, so the next episode. So decide a game with him. It'll most likely be a game or game from a series we're both interested in. But yeah, not 100% yet, but we'll get that done as soon as possible. Probably sometime similar time as this, like next week sometime, sort of towards the end of the week. For this episode, I am currently talking over some gameplay of Rome Total War. This is a game I really love, one of my favourite games. I've been playing it for a number of years. I decided to play this as there will be a new entry into the series later this year, and that will be Total War Pharaoh. And I will talk a bit about that later in the video. But first, I'll get into some of my thoughts on Rome Total War, my history with it, and why I enjoy it so much. So I originally played Rome Total War, can't remember, sometime, might have been a couple of years after release. I believe the game came out in sort of the later half of 2004. But yeah, I don't think I played it on release. Maybe it was a year or two after, because I got the Total War Gold Edition, which came with the expansion Barbarian Invasion. But yeah, I originally played this on the old family PC, I've mentioned a few times. Another game I'm surprised actually it ran. And I did play a bit of Barbarian Invasion more recently, but I'll talk about that a bit later. So the game is a strategy game where you have like the main campaign map, and you move your like generals and their armies around that, and you have your cities which you can micromanage on like a whole map of mostly Europe, but also North Africa, and sort of Asia Minor, Western Asia. So it's a fairly big map, especially for the time. It was a pretty big map. But you also do like battles on the campaign where you can auto manage the battles, or you can auto resolve them rather, or you can play them out yourself, and it's all like your 3D rendered armies, your soldiers, and things, and your units that you recruit, and you can move them around like as if you're like a bird's eye view watching them. So that's quite cool. The main factions I played are the Roman factions. Julii is the main ones, the like red Romans. I played a little bit of the other Roman factions, the Scipii and the Brutii, but not quite as much as the Julii. They have quite a good campaign. The Julii mainly, you can sort of do what you want really, but their main objective is to take over Gaul, so to head north out of Italy and into like Germany and or what was Germania at the time, and France or Gaul at the time, and into Spain and eventually into Britannia. So it's quite cool, the Julii campaign. But you can do what you want really. If you wanted to, you can just rush east and head towards like Romania and Greece and things. If you really want to, if you want to cut the other Roman factions off, you can sort of aim for their sort of designated regions if you want to, because the 3 Roman factions are all alive at the same time, and they all sort of vie for Senate approval and things. So you also have the Senate, which are as a faction that owns Rome, the city itself, and each of them play a little bit different. They're mostly very similar. They mostly play different in the sort of regions they're supposed to take over. And there's like a slight unit. Some of the units are slightly changed, like mainly that I think it's mostly just their gladiator units are different between the 3 Roman factions. So you can follow like their suggested paths, or you can just do what you want really. I remember I used to like just jumping in, putting a load of guys jumping in a boat and just going around the Mediterranean and just capturing like islands. So that was quite fun. If you don't want to just stick to the land, there's naval as well. So there's naval combat. That's not rendered like or like you don't control that like the later, like some of the later Total War games. That's auto resolve all the time. I think there are mods actually to allow control of the naval battles, but I never played any of them. So it is mostly a land-based battle game, or the battles mostly take place on land. Although I still quite enjoyed the naval aspect of it. It can be quite fun if you're like a naval power like Rome or Greece or Egypt, I guess. Carthage as well. But generally it is heavily land-based stuff. And each faction, all different factions, they have like starting generals who usually have like a little army, and you can build them up and recruit units in your cities and things, and then just send them out to your armies and build new armies and things, and you get generals, I think it's randomly over time. Yeah, the Roman factions are generally quite good. It is generally good to just start as one of them, just to learn to play the game if you haven't. They can be fairly beginner friendly, and because they're quite they can be quite overpowered as well, so you don't have to worry too much, depending on the difficulty, but you don't have to worry too much about just getting wiped out by an enemy faction. The other faction I played quite a lot of is, to be honest, it's probably it's a draw between the Julii faction and the Greek cities as my most played. So I played them quite a lot, the Greek cities, completed long imperial campaigns as both. And actually I did take the entire map as Greece, so that's quite cool. You can capture, once you've completed the imperial long campaign objectives, you can continue the game, a bit like the Civilization games where you can click just one more turn and continue playing them after you've got to the end date or the objective you set. So yeah, you can continue beyond sort of the end of the campaign and take the entire map. I think you get achievements and things for that. I think I did this with Greece recently. No, like like a few years ago when I started playing it again on Steam. Maybe 5 or 6 so years ago when I started playing the game again more often on Steam. Greece is really, the Greek cities are really quite fun to play. You get all your hoplite units and your Spartan hoplites. They're all quite cool, and they've got their phalanx special ability, so they can block. They drop all their spears, not drop them on the floor, but like they have them above their heads. So they drop them down to block the enemy. So if any enemies runs into them, it generally kills the enemy. So you can do really quite fun to just block areas of the map, of like the map, or in the battle maps to guard areas and things and push. And it's quite a it can be quite an overpowered ability if you know how to use it. The Romans don't have an ability, a phalanx. They have like a spear wall with some of their units, but it's not as effective as the phalanx. But the Romans generally make up for it because they are a bit, they are quite powerful. Just all their general units, and they have a lot of units. But yeah, so the Greeks can be pretty fun to play as. I've also played the remaster of the game. I think it was almost a year ago. I went through another Greek campaign, and I'm planning on doing a Roman campaign on there. I did a campaign playthrough as well as as Scythia. I did a Imperial Long campaign and took over the whole map. So that was quite fun playing the horse archer. I've always really liked horse archers in games, like in the Mountain Blade games and things. Maybe they just are a bit OP most of the time. Very good for just skirmishing and then retreating. You'll fire and retreat with their bows on horseback. So that was quite fun as Scythia. I've always wanted to do that, but yeah, I did the whole long campaign with them, and the entire map conquered. And that was on the remaster. I don't think I ever played them in the original game. Maybe I did in like a custom battle, but I don't think I ever did the a campaign with them. But yeah, as I mentioned, I want to do go through the remaster as the Romans at some point. But also some really good mods for the remaster, which I want to go through. There's Imperium Surrectum and Total Conquest. So I'll do that in the future. I may do a video when I do that. Not sure yet, but yeah, that's so those mods look really good. I've been waiting. I think it's Imperial Surrectum for them to release a newer build to that mod because it looks really good. So and the original is there's a heavily modded game. You can get all sorts of stuff for the original. There's even like World War One mods and things. It's like total conversions into like World War One and other the whole like world map and things. I think those are from medieval Total War, the second one. But yeah, there's loads for Rome as well. Some pretty wild ones as well. Like some pretty weird mods for some of them. Like let's mention again, Medieval 2 Total War. There's a Planet War mod, which is like just a crazy. Check it out, this crazy mod. There's stuff like that, I believe, for Rome as well. So they're, I think most of the Total Wars are like heavily moddable, so that's good. Quite enjoy watching a lot of videos on Total War. The Total War. Really like Isoro Productions videos. His videos on all the Total War games are really quite good. Really quite funny. So it can be a fun game to watch as well. Depends what you like though. If you're more into the battles and the micromanagement, or if you're not into the micromanagement, it might be a bit boring watching like a playthrough, but an edited video of things are pretty good. It can be quite fun to watch. Now, talking about the micromanagement, I actually quite enjoy the micromanagement side of the game and the campaign map. I usually do all the micromanagement in all my cities. I don't generally just leave a governor or auto manage on to do it. I'll generally do all the city management in all my cities. It's maybe it's very tedious for some people, but I quite enjoy it though. Like building up your empire building game. I guess it's not entirely an empire building game, but you can play it like that. I think most people play it though for all the battles and taking over the map. But yeah, I do quite enjoy the empire building side of it. There's also some like army management and like logistical stuff. Like you build up your infrastructure with your empire building and your city management. You build roads and things and upgrade your roads, and from like dirt tracks to like highways. At least the Romans, depends. Different factions have access to more advanced tech. So the Romans and have I think the highest like road tech, and the Greeks can get paved roads but not highways. And like some of the Eastern factions, I think every faction can get paved roads though, maybe. But yeah, there's quite a lot of building management stuff. There's all sorts of buildings. There's like temples to all your gods, your pagan gods and things. Because the game is the base game is set between like 250, 230 BC and about 50 BC, 50 to 30 BC, I believe. So it's all roughly within the Roman like Republic era. So when they still worshipped like pagan gods, like polytheism and things. But yeah, you get like all the temples and things, like the Athena temple to Athena, and there's the Greeks and the temples to like Jupiter as the Romans. But yeah, there's plenty of like gods you can build temples and things to, and they'll give you bonuses generally to like population growth or weapon strength and things, defense. When you build like a armies, like recruit units in that city with the like boosted weapon damage temple and things, that will be recruited with those bonuses. And you get all your like recruiting buildings, like your stables and your archery and your barracks, and they all upgrade and things. So it's quite an in-depth game actually. There's like so many factions to play as, and they all generally have their own unique stuff. There's some mix and match in, but generally they're fairly unique each faction. You've got your Roman factions, you've got Greece, you've got the Seleucids, which are basically like a Greek Asian faction, or sort of Anatolian faction, but they're like Greek based. And you got Pontus and Parthia, which is like another Eastern faction. They own like sort of where Iraq and Iran is on the map, so the very eastern edge of the map. And then you got Egypt, which are for the period aren't there's like memes about this. They're not like historically accurate. They're like Bronze Age Egyptian units. So but Egypt's still pretty good actually as a faction, though. They start with really good like high income and provinces and things and trade, so they're pretty good. Even though they're not the most accurate for the time. Then you got like wonders. Egypt has like the pyramids and things, but yeah, most nations can just capture a wonder from another nation and gain its bonuses and things. You've also got like Scythia mentioned, like mostly horse archer based, but they also have some ground units and regular archers and things, but they're mostly cavalry based. And you got like Germania, Britannia, and Gaul, and Spain, and Carthage, Numidia. There's like a bunch of factions. Some harder than others. Like Numidia's pretty hard faction to play as, and Scythia is generally a bit more difficult than the sort of. I think the Roman and Greek factions are definitely the easiest, and Egypt's a pretty powerful faction as well. There's a bunch of other smaller sort of factions like Thrace and Dacia, and then Barbarian Invasion. It has like different factions as well, and they all mostly have their unique ways to play, so they can be quite fun. Some factions will be infantry based, and some will be cavalry, some will be a mix. Then you've got your archers as well, your ranged units and your siege units. But battles wise, yeah, they can be pretty fun to play your own battles, and doing custom battles as well. You can just set up like two armies, and what I used to do is I think probably most people who played Rome Total War and some of the other Total Wars probably do this, where you just fight across a bridge and you hold like a bridge. You can do this especially well with like a Greek hoplite units with their phalanx, as I mentioned. Used to do this with a friend of mine when we were kids. You just hold a bridge and just watch all the bodies sort of pile up on your spears in front of your spears, and when you phalanx and hold the bridge. It can be quite fun. And the siege battles can be quite fun as well. I generally prefer defensive siege battles, but when you're attacking, it becomes quite cool as well, capturing the walls and things, and breaking down the gates, and climbing over the walls and taking the city. It can be quite fun, but I generally prefer being defense. So I like to hold like the choke points and funnel the enemy towards me. It can be really fun when you're outnumbered and trying to survive. So you trying to inflict as many casualties as you can on the enemy units, trying to fend them off. That's quite fun. It's just it can be pretty easy as Greece though to absolutely wipe out the enemy, even if you're outnumbered, because you can just phalanx and hold choke points with their hoplite units. So they're a bit OP in that regard. And then when you capture a city or one of your cities is attacked, if they're using like siege catapults and things, they can damage a building, so you got to repair them and stuff afterwards. So yeah, it's quite in depth. There's a lot of stuff going on. And one cool thing is actually you can when you're just managing your cities and things, you can actually you can't zoom in on them like scroll or anything, but there's like a button we can zoom in right to the street level, but there's a button on the campaign map anyway. But there, if you go into the managing of the cities and things, you can actually view the city on the map. So you click that and you go into like what a siege battle would be, but obviously it's not a siege going on. You're just good like floating over your city, looking at all the buildings and the people walking around and stuff. So that's quite cool. Quite a cool addition to the game. I only remember it from Rome, but I think it's in some of the other games like Shogun and Medieval, but it just seemed more prominent in Rome that you could do that. I mentioned a bit about this, but the Barbarian Invasion expansion, I quite like it as well. I don't think it's generally it's not as positively reviewed as the base game, and I don't think I've ever completed like an Imperial campaign on Barbarian Invasion. I played through like almost did the campaign as the Western Roman Empire, and I did a bit as the Eastern Roman Empire. But the game set at I think it's between like 400 and something AD and maybe 500 or 600 and something AD. I'm not quite sure. I know the fair bit about the time period in real life, but the game dates in Barbarian Invasion, I'm not quite sure. But it's around about that time where Rome started losing a lot of its power, especially in the West, and there were a lot of like barbarian um, and traveling groups of people were sort of invading the borders of mostly Western Rome, but also Eastern Rome. So it's set of sort of the hence the name Barbarian Invasion. Sort of when Rome's starting to sort of fall apart a bit and struggling to stay strong, especially in the West. And playing as the Western Roman Empire can be quite hard trying to survive. It's quite fun actually. You've got all the different barbarian factions and things trying to take you over. But Eastern Rome is a fair bit easier. They're still quite strong, and the you got the Huns as well. Like their main enemies, I guess. They're the horse archer based again, like the Scythians mostly. They have ground units as well and archers and things, but mostly cavalry based. They played a bit of them. They're quite fun to play, but they don't generally start with like they have like a horde mechanic where they just have loads of armies to begin with. But if you like capture a city with them, you can like occupy cities. Same in the base game, you can occupy or enslave or exterminate like a city. Um, but if you decide to capture the city as and keep it as the Huns, they lose their like most of their horde mechanic, I think, and the units start disappearing. But you can just keep them as the horde and not capture a city, just sack a bunch of cities and leave. So that can be quite cool playing as them. Played as the Saxons as well. They're quite fun to play actually. They're kind of like a barbarianish faction, but mostly just like infantry and things. But I remember playing as them years ago on Barbarian Invasion. There's plenty of other factions. Yeah, you got Western and Eastern Rome. I think you got the Franks as well. You got the Sassanids in the east, in like Anatolia and or Eastern Anatolia and like the Near East, Middle East and things. And the Eastern Roman Empire have like bits in North Africa and stuff. And the Berber faction, the Lombards, and some more like nomadic factions along with the along sort of with the Huns. You got the Sarmatians and the Vandals and the Goths and things. So it's quite a bit of detail in Barbarian Invasion 2. It's a good expansion, but yeah, I just wouldn't say it was quite as good as the base game. There is another expansion which is the Alexander expansion. I think I only ever briefly played this. So I think it's quite scripted and covers Alexander the Great's conquests throughout Asia Minor, Middle East, and like Pakistan and northwestern and western India. That's sort of where he sort of went on his conquesting. um, yeah, they're the expansion for that, and that's obviously set before even the base game. This is set between like 330 and like 320 BC, so a bit before the base game's campaign. But maybe I'll give it a shot at some point because I never really played it. I've heard it's okay. just not as big. It's not like is it anywhere near in depth as the base game or Barbarian Invasion. It's just sort of like a scripted sort of add-on campaign. Although maybe it's got more than I know because I just haven't played it properly. So yeah, it's a really, really great game though. Rome Total War. I go back to it every now and then, do like a Roman or Greek campaign once in a while, and there's a few campaigns I keep thinking of just next time I play, giving them a go. The original is yes, probably the oldest game that I still play, like still like play not often, but go back to it every now and then, and like do a campaign. That along with like Civ 4 Beyond the Sword, but talk about that another day. So yeah, I've been playing it on and off, I guess, since like 2004, 5-ish, maybe. Obviously, not not every year. I haven't done like a campaign on there frequently, but it's still a game I do think about and play every now and then. And yeah, if you're looking to get it, is the base game you can still get on through Steam, which is where I recently played it. I think might have a physical copy of it from years ago somewhere, but I can't quite remember. I remember having like the gold edition box and things with Rome and Barbarian Invasion, but I'm not quite sure where that is. So yeah, I just play it on Steam and then played the remaster on Steam, so you can get them for generally, especially the base game, you can get it quite cheap as the gold edition, I think, with like all of it, Rome and the 2 expansion. So yeah, give it a go if you never have. All the Total War games are all pretty good actually, and I think we'll get into some talk about the upcoming one. I was sort of surprised at this. I didn't see it coming at all, really. Just remember, I think I saw like a YouTube video was recommended about it, something like that, and I looked on Steam and went, oh, I never even knew. But that's being so Total War Pharaoh. This is being released in October, and going by the name, yeah, it's ancient Egyptian based. So I guess like Bronze sort of age, maybe I'm guessing, but between like 1500 BC and like 1000 BCE, something around there. No, I don't think they've released the time frame of it, but it could go earlier. I guess 2000 BC, but I'm just not sure. I think there's going to be the Hittites as well, so they were like a civilization at the time of the Egyptians, and there's a couple other sort of powers in the region, but I think the Hittites and the Egyptians were the biggest at the time before like Persia and stuff came around. So it looks like it will, going by that, the map will probably be Egypt / North Africa, maybe East or Northeast Africa, maybe as far south as like modern day Ethiopia. I'm guessing, and you've got Anatolia, so modern day Turkey, and the Middle East, I would imagine as well, given the Hittites are in it. So that could be quite interesting. I'm wondering if it will be like a fully fledged game like the Rome games and medieval and stuff, or whether it will be a sort of like a side game where it's just like a bit more zoomed in on that region, focus on that region, but I don't know yet. As far as I could tell, yeah, they haven't released that much info on it from what I watched, but maybe I've just missed that. Yes, it seems like it will be interesting. We'll just have to see. I think the newest Total War game I've played is like the newest release wise is Warhammer 2. But obviously they're just completely different really. They're very fantasy and like battle based. Pretty good games though. I think I mentioned in the last video about them. So yeah, I'm unsure how this is going to play out, whether it's going to be a mainline sort of game or whether they're having it as like a sort of a side game like some of the other games they've done, like with the Total War game, which was based in just Britain, which is like the Total War Sagas, I think, Thrones of Britannia. But it could be like that, or it could be, I'm thinking it's more like a mainline side of games. I didn't see the titling of it as like a saga game or like a side game, but you never know. So hopefully it's good though. It seems interesting. And unlike Rome Total War, I'm guessing the Egyptian faction will be more historically based, maybe, for the time. Be interesting to see what they do with the Hittites as well. That would be quite cool. And those are the only factions I know of last time I looked, but there could be others, I guess. I think this is sort of towards the end of the Egyptian time period, but like the sea peoples and the Bronze Age collapse and things. There might be something related to that as well. I'm not quite sure. We'll just have to see when it comes out, I guess. I think it's about £50 or dollars for the standard edition, but the premium editions can go up to like $60, $80 pounds or so for Pharaoh. So we'll have to, but well, yeah, we'll just see if it's a good game at the time. Like, I don't know if I'll get it on release, but just depends. Maybe it's really good. I don't know. And before I move into some other stuff, I played. I thought I'd mention this just briefly. As I have played quite a lot of the Total War games. Probably my favorite is Rome, the Rome Total War, and I guess the remaster because it's kind of the same with some tweaks if you want to. Or you can just run it just basically as the classic game. But yeah, Rome Total War is my favorite. Shogun 2 is probably my second favorite. I really like Shogun 2. Probably do a video of that in the future. Maybe it's expansion as well. I've completed Shogun 2, like complete the Imperial, like the long campaign and capture the whole map, and in Shogun 2 and its expansion, Fall of the Samurai. So I played that a bit. I haven't played as much of Medieval 2, but that would probably be my favorite one after Shogun. That's really quite a good game. I think that's generally people's favorite. It's like generally the number one Total War game, Medieval 2. And yeah, it's a pretty good game. And I'm not sure where Warhammer 2 fits into it, but maybe I'll have a think about that. But that's really good. And I played Empire Total War. I quite liked that, but I think it was very buggy on launch. I think it's mostly okay now, but I think people just generally had issues with the gameplay and things. I did like the naval side of things, where you control the boats and stuff and build up like a global sort of empire. That was quite cool in Empire Total War. But I think generally it's a bit lower on the list for most people of their favourite Total War games. I haven't played any of the really old ones, so before Rome. Those were Shogun Total, which I think was the first one, and I haven't played that. It's quite old, like 90s, some like mid to late 90s. And then you got the first Medieval Total War was the second game, I believe, late 90s as well. And then I think Rome was the one after that, and then Medieval 2 was after that. So yeah, I don't know what the really old ones are like. Pretty sure they're quite similar though, and they just look a bit older. And then before I mentioned Rome 2, actually had a release. It was really bad. It was the turn times and things, and they really messed that launch up, Rome 2. But now it's a pretty good game with a bunch of mods and things. They did like a barbarian expansion as well. It's not called that. It's sorry, it isn't an expansion. It's its own like standalone game, but it's sort of like a spiritual successor to Barbarian Invasion, and it's just Total War Attila. But Rome 2 sort of expands on the map and things, and they did change up quite a bit with it, especially the look of it and the feel. But it still obviously is a Total War game, and it's good now. Back in the release sort of period, it was really quite bad, and there's a lot of mods for it as well, so that's cool. But yeah, if you're interested in any of the Total War games, you never played them before, check out some videos and give them a go. I'd say Rome is the original, the remaster, good ones to start with, and you can always play some of the new ones, but even Rome 2's fine to start with, and just any of them generally, I guess, but some of them are harder than others. But yeah, they're pretty good games, generally run quite well as well, except for, again, Rome 2, who had issues. But yeah, if you're interested, give them a shot. And I think now we're going to finish the Total War sort of section. Spoke about that for a little while, and talk a bit about Diablo 4. So yeah, it looks like that's reviewing really well. From what I've seen, 8s and 9s out of 10, which is obviously pretty good. So it looks like the amount of content is really vast. I watched SkillUp's review on it, and yeah, he was pretty impressed by it. I think he played about 50 hours, and he hadn't done like all of it. So it seems like quite a long game. If you want to experience all the content, seems like the sort of game where you could pour like hundreds of hours into it, especially if you go across like multiple characters. I think there's 5 different characters you can play as. And yeah, given that the map looks really, really big, so that's cool. A lot of content, always good. And yeah, it sounds like a pretty good game. Sort of back to the more horror gothic inspired look, a bit like Diablo 2, I guess. So yeah, it's looking to be a really good game with a lot of content. I think they're doing like expansion things in the future, but by the looks of it, the base game is pretty stacked with content if you want to just play through that. The only issues I've heard are some reviewers have brought up that there are like some quite serious issues with overpriced microtransactions and things, which is yeah, disappointing considering the game is like $60, $70, pounds, etc. for like the complete version of it. But I suppose as far as I can tell, it's mostly just cosmetic stuff, which isn't as bad, obviously. And they have said that they aren't going to do any uh, like pay to win or like pay for like premium characters and boosts and things. As far as I can tell, they've said they're not going to do that, but you never know with Blizzard, I guess, from some of their previous stuff. So we just have to see. Hopefully, they keep it fairly cosmetic based. But I imagine the expansions you have to pay, but that's generally expansions for you. And I think I probably will get it at some point. I'll probably get it on PC and yeah, give it a go. I really do like the look of it when I was watching reviews and stuff of it. Looks to be a really good game that I could just get into for a while. And before I played Diablo 2 Resurrected, which I'm still playing, I probably wouldn't have looked at it as much, but because I'm really enjoying Diablo 2 Resurrected, I yeah, I'm a bit more well, yeah, quite a bit more interested in the Diablo series going forward. May play Diablo 3 as well, so I got that with Resurrected. And yeah, just about to complete chapter 1, I think, on Resurrected. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Been wanting to spend a bit more time with it, but I've been had a few other things I've had to do, so I haven't been playing as much as I wanted. But yeah, I'll keep you updated on that maybe. Yeah, so it looks to be a pretty good game, Diablo 4. Another game that sort of came out of uh, not quite nowhere, because I guess they were going to make an Assassin's Creed, but I guess I was less shocked at it than I wasn't really shocked at either game, but less shocked, I guess, at this than the new Total War Pharaoh. But yeah, it looks quite cool. Set in 9th century Baghdad, so that'd be an interesting setting, I would imagine. Someone was saying apparently it pays tribute to the original Assassin's Creed in some ways, so I guess that would be quite could be quite interesting. Yeah, looking forward to this. Hopefully, it's a good game. I know the Assassin's Creed have had a bit of a rough time recently. I don't think a lot of people. I think Valhalla was. I haven't played it, but Valhalla was generally a good game. But a lot of people got a bit sort of not. I don't know about bored, but it sort of received more mixed reviews than Odyssey and Origins. And I really liked Origins. Really like the setting of that game and how it looked and everything. I got Odyssey. I haven't played that yet, but yeah, hopefully. Oh, and I haven't got Valhalla. I haven't played that yet, but I plan to. I think I will at some point. But Valhalla, yeah, seems to be a bit more of those three games, the three most recent main games. Seems to be the most mixed game. So hopefully Mirage is really good. I think they've sort of had a longer development with it, just to hopefully assure that it's maybe a bit better. I don't know. But yeah, it could be a great game if they get it right. I guess you could say that about any game, but because Ubisoft as a whole has had a rough like couple years, I think. So maybe this will sort of bring them back on form. I don't really know. Have to wait and see. Another game that this game was actually recently released. Amnesia: The Bunker. I think I mentioned this last week. So I watched a review on it from G Man Lives. Yeah, it seems like quite a good game. From what I've seen on good reviews on Steam, it's very positive. I have played I think it was the original Amnesia Dark Descent, I think it's called. They're sort of a bit more medieval themed, I think. But yeah, this new one's World War One base looks pretty good. I didn't realize, but in G-Man's video bring up that they're still using the same engine that they used for the original Amnesia. So that's quite interesting because it looks a lot better. But they managed to squeeze that much out of it, out of that specific engine. But yeah, from watching the video review on it, yeah, I think I'll probably grab it at some point. It does look pretty good. I feel I'd quite like it. Seems quite hard, but it reminds me a little bit of Outlast, which is a game I really like. The first Outlast and its expansion were really good, I thought. A little bit of Call of Cthulhu, Dark Corners of the Earth, or Cthulhu, how you say it. Bit of that in there as well, I feel, and a bit of the Condemned games as well, which is good. Quite like them. So yeah, it does seem like it's the sort of game I'd enjoy if you like horror stuff like that, horror, first person horror and things. And the World War II setting is quite cool for that. Don't really know of any other World War One. Sorry, I don't really know of any other World War One based sort of horror games. Certainly not like that. I know they're like old World War One shooters that were horror based. I can't quite remember the name of it. Just had a look, and it's the Necrovision games. They're like the old shooter games. I think that's what they are. But yeah, this looks pretty good. I'll give it a go at some point. I've only played the first Amnesia, and I haven't played the other two. I think there's two more since the first one, and this is like yeah, the latest one. And I think do a quick bit now about Redfall. So I think I mentioned in my first video that I played through Redfall, and I thought it was alright. It wasn't. It just had so many issues with it. Yeah, it definitely should have been released when it did, but it was okay for what I played through Game Pass. Certainly would have been not too happy if I'd paid the full price for it. Would have been pretty annoyed. But yeah, there was like a release, like just I think some people released about sort of its reasons for its failure. So it looks like the development team, the developers, wanted the game to possibly even get cancelled, as they felt it wasn't really up to scratch. They didn't feel like it was coming together right, I don't think. But it looks like the higher ups in the company wanted them to just finish it and put it out, which seems to happen more than you think. I guess it's not great, but it does this stuff that's been sort of revealed. It doesn't seem too much of a surprise to me. As just playing through the game, I could tell there were just like a bunch of issues with the game. So many bugs I encountered. I think I mentioned in the first video again that I'd never experienced so many bugs in a game that I'd played on release. And it's one of the first, although it is the first game I played on release in like a couple of years, but I guess I played Elden Ring on release, so that was fine. But yeah, in a while, it's been probably the worst game I've played on release. In a while, potentially the worst game I've ever played on release, bugs wise. But I haven't played that many on release, I don't think, not recently. And as I said, yeah, I don't think it should have been released yet, but I guess they sort of revealed now why it was released sooner. But yeah, they should have really worked on the performance bugs and things, and the other bugs and things for a bit longer. I guess there wasn't much they could do with the story and the gameplay and stuff because that was sort of set already. But they could have definitely worked on more of the performance issues and things. Because yeah, it was sort of riddled when I played it. I haven't played it since I finished it, but as far as I can tell, it's still in like not the best shape. So yeah, that is annoying when they sort of push the game out like that. And yeah, this is what generally happens. And I think the next bit I'll do another quick bit on the Dolphin GameCube and Wii emulators. So this had a planned launch on Steam. So it wasn't actually launched on Steam, but it was planned to be launched on Steam. I think quite soon. But that was sort of the release was canned. It was looks like Steam contacted Nintendo because they thought Nintendo would more than likely have a problem with it being on Steam, and they were right, I guess. So has now been indefinitely cancelled Steam release, as far as I can tell. And yeah, I guess Nintendo have sort of issues with emulation, a lot of issues, seemingly more than other companies, but maybe that's a thing to get into in a different video. But yeah, the Dolphin emulator, I've used it a fair bit in the past. I haven't played any games on it in a little while. I haven't played any Wii games on it, just GameCube stuff I've got, and mostly yeah, GameCube stuff. But yeah, it looks like it won't be coming to Steam. I couldn't see it ever coming to Steam unless they change. I'll mention this in a minute, I think, but change certain files around with it, and then maybe they would allow it because you're using your own, technically your own games and things. But it's mostly games you can't even really buy anymore just because they're all physical and things. And as far as I know, most GameCube games you can't even buy through the sort of Nintendo eShop and things, or whatever that's called these days. I don't have a Switch or the Switch Lite or anything. But yeah, it does seem like yeah, the only way to play most of these old Nintendo games is to emulate them. But yeah, that's like what it is for most emulators though, for PS1 and 2 and things. And yeah, I really like my emulators, so yeah, they can be really great at like preserving old games and things, which I'm very much into, like older games and retro games and stuff. Even though I play a lot of new stuff as well, not as much as I used to. But yeah, so this was a bit of a well, bit annoying, I guess you could say. But I guess Nintendo did it to well, they do it quite often, I think, with this sort of thing or related stuff. But I guess they did it for copyright reasons, and it looked like the main reason was because there was Wii keys in the source code, which is copyrighted Nintendo property. So in like the code in the Dolphin emulator. But as I mentioned, hopefully the Dolphin developers can alter some of this, and maybe it may be allowed back on Steam, but I'm doubtful. I would imagine Nintendo would block it again. But I think yeah, the only thing they could do is change the way Dolphin works, make it more like PCSX2 and most of the other emulators, where you have to. I thought it was like this anyway, but I didn't really think too deeply about it. But yeah, with PCSX2 and some of the other emulators, you have to get the BIOS and like the files and the code and things yourself, and then you insert them into like the emulator, like drop them in, etc. So that would, yeah, maybe Dolphin. That's how they would work in the future. They could change it around so the copyrighted code wasn't built into the emulator, and I guess that would alleviate the current issue with it. But you never know. Just have to see on that one again. But if anything comes up, I will mention it in the future. And just a couple quick game topic things, little section. So apparently, Witcher 3 has sold more than 50 million copies, which is pretty wild, really. And the Witcher series as a whole has sold over 75 million. So that's Witcher. I don't know if they class sort of the side games, but Witcher 1, 2, and 3. I really love the Witcher games. They're so good. Or at least uh, 2 and 3. I haven't played the first one actually. But yeah, the third one, absolutely love. Played through the second one as well, like years ago. And yeah, played for the third one and all the DLCs and things. That was really great game. So yeah, that's great. They've sold so many copies. I'm really looking forward to the next mainline ones in the Witcher franchise. Hope they're really good. And yeah, another game that's apparently sold well, Dead Island 2, which came out earlier in the year. It's apparently the best-selling Deep Silver game ever, with two or so million copies. So that's interesting. Played the older Dead Islands briefly. I haven't played this one. But yeah, that looks like it's going to be good for them. And I think I'll get into the sort of game deals that I noticed for this section. So first game is No Man's Sky, 50% off until 19th of June. So that's on Steam and I believe on consoles as well, from what I could tell. Apparently it's a really good game now. I know it released that a terrible, terrible release. But apparently it's completely like fixed now from the release. Vastly improved. I heard from a friend of mine that's played it, and he said it's really good now. So yeah, vastly improved from launch. That's good. It's annoying when they launch for that, but at least they fix it up. And then the Resident Evil games, as far as I can tell, are 50 to 75% off until the 20th of June, PC and console as well, so Steam and Xbox, PlayStation stuff. So yeah, I really love that. I think I mentioned this before. I really love the Resident Evil games. Uh, haven't played the first person ones yet, 7 and Village, but plan to at some point. But yeah, I really like all the third person ones. I have played most of them. I haven't played Code Veronica. I plan on playing that at some point. I got that recently. Code Veronica X, I think it is. And I didn't play 6, but apparently 6 is really bad. Played a bit of 5, and then I played most of the others, third person ones. And really like the remakes. So they're all, as far as I can tell, all the ones that are on Steam and console are on deal. And also they're Capcom publish the Resident Evil games. They are on the develop them, but yeah, so publisher developer on them, most of them I think, if not all. Yeah, most of their games are on sale as well. Not sure if they're all on sale to the 20th of June, but I think they are. So you got the Devil May Cry games, Dragon's Dogma game, Dark Arisen, Monster Hunter games, and Dead Rising, and a bunch of other Capcom games. So check them out if you're interested. Another game I haven't played. I don't know how many times I've mentioned that I haven't played a game on here, but another game I'm interested in playing, and that's Aragami, and that's 80% off. Looks really nice, really nice game that I do want to play on deal till the 12th of June. I think Aragami 2 is also on sale, but that's 50% off. So yeah, those look like good games. Another game is Super Hot, which I haven't played again. 70% off until the 14th of June. Really great reviews on this one. Play it at some point again. I think there's a VR version as well, because it's quite suited, I guess, to VR, like the time mechanic and the shooting mechanic and the fighting mechanics and things. And then we got Borderlands 3, that's 75% off until the 12th of June, and Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, which is like a side game of their, like a standalone Borderlands game, that's 50% off until the 14th of June. Don't know why different days, but that seems to happen recently for some reason. But I've played Borderlands 1, and I can't remember if I played a bit 2, but I've been meaning to get Borderlands 3. I think it was sort of mixed reviews on release, but as far as I can tell now, it's fine. And Tiny Tina's Wonderland seems okay as well. And I think now I'll get into sort of the new and upcoming games. So I think it's yesterday, so the 8th, or yesterday, or a day or 2 days before this comes out, depending on when it uploads to YouTube and it goes okay and whatnot. But MotoGP 2023, so that come out 8th of June. Played the much older ones, so I think like MotoGP 2008 and back in those sort of days, but not any of the new ones. So just motorcycle racing game, a bit like F1 but for bikes. So I think it's the different types of racing sort of bikes. So it won't be any like real like road bikes like Tourist Trophy and Ride and things, but more like race focused, like Formula One. But I think there are different categories of bikes. So if you're into that, give it a go. There's also mountain biking game. So Riders Republic, 8th of June released. And it looks like it's reviewing okay, mostly positive, about 71%. So I guess not the best review, but I don't know. I'd have to give it a try. So it's meant to be massively multiplayer, sort of online mountain biking game. Maybe it seems maybe it's similar, but I don't know, to a game I used to love called Downhill Domination, which I played back on the PS2. I think I actually have a physical copy still of that somewhere. So yeah, that was a great game, and this hopefully sort of emulates that a bit, but I don't know. No, I'm pretty sure Downhill Domination is really always well reviewed. is held quite highly, but looks like this is sort of average, above average maybe, but we'll have to see how it goes. And then we got Rainbow Six Extraction, which is the 15th of June. It's seems like it uses the Siege engine. It looks kind of like Siege, Rainbow Six Siege, the like online PvP game. But they basically like converted it to PvE. I think it's just PvE. I don't know if it's PvPvE, however they say it. But yeah, it looks like PvE versus zombies or aliens by the looks of it. So another zombie game. Yeah, maybe. Do you want to play another zombie game? As Joe says. But yeah, it could be interesting. I remember hearing about this years ago and thinking it looked quite good, or from what I heard. But now I look at it now, I'm not so sure. But we'll have to see when it comes out. It is co-op. I don't know. I'm guessing it won't be free to play, but I don't know. It doesn't have a price on the Steam page or anything. I don't know if they mentioned it in any market materials. And another game, actually, I was a bit shocked at this one. Maybe not shocked, but just a bit like surprised. I just randomly saw it come up when I was looking at Steam's upcoming stuff, and that's Kingdom of Wreck Business, I think it's called. So that's 16th of June, and I really quite like the look of it. So hopefully it's good. I don't know if it's releasing to early access or full release, but yeah, I really like. I think I really like his diving and like underwater games. I know there's not like a massive amount of them, but yeah, I'm hoping this is good because I haven't played one in a long time, and this looks to be quite interesting. But you never know with just random stuff releasing on Steam. But hopefully it's good because yeah, I do really like this sort of diving games and underwater games. Diver's Dream, which I don't think very many people played. I've not seen. There's obviously videos of it on YouTube and stuff, but just go check it out. It's a PS1 game. I really used to like that. I've got a disc copy of that from years ago. Still, one of the PS1 games I still have. Yeah, really, really good game. One of my favorite sort of diving games. It's a bit dated now, but you can still play it, especially if you run it through an emulator and upscale it. It still holds up relatively well. And you just basically you're a diver and you go and collect treasure. There's more of a story to it, but you can go and collect treasure in like old shipwrecks and caves and things, and then sell it and progress the story and buy new gear and things. So that's quite cool. I don't know if this Kingdom of Wreck business game will be similar, but we'll have to just see on release. But yeah, I do really like underwater games. There's games like Under Ocean, Endless Ocean, the Endless Ocean games 1 and 2 for the Wii, which I've got copies of actually. I also want to play them at some point, and then the Everblue games, Everblue 1 and 2. They're from what I heard, I haven't played them, but they're pretty good games. But yeah, if you're interested in collecting stuff, Endless Ocean and the Everblue games are pretty rare, especially Everblue. They're ones to look out for if you're interested in that. But yeah, I quite like that type of game, just exploring underwater and things, and the diving games as well. What was cool actually in Diver's Dream was there was like a free mode at the menu, which is I thought a bit surprising for a PS1 game. There's a free mode and it's like just I'm guessing it's procedural, but I'm not quite sure given how old it is. But you just sort of swim around like an endless ocean of it. So that's quite interesting. And also these are just underwater games, not specifically diving games. So Echo on the PS2. From what I've seen, that's quite a good game. I haven't played it yet, but I have got a copy of that actually. And I also really loved Jaws Unleashed. I don't know how many people really like that game. I think it was generally sort of mixed, but I'm not really sure. But I really loved it. I lost my copy of that. I don't know where that is. Which is a bit annoying. But yeah, so I'll be keeping an eye on this Kingdom of Wreck game, Kingdom of Wreck Business, I think it's called. So yeah, just was a really random thing. It just come up, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. Because I'm really like my diving and underwater games. And yeah, I only just realised it was a thing when I saw it then. So that'll be cool to keep an eye on. And yeah, now I think we'll move into tech topics quick. I think like last week's video, they're fairly short. So probably, yeah, not too much to talk about, but we'll talk a bit So this was brought up by Linus on his WAN show, I think it was, podcast with him and Luke, about like graphics issues and like I think generally PC market, like PC gaming stuff is like settled price wise now. It's like not too bad, except for graphics cards. I guess some of it is like expensive, like overpriced things, but there are still with everything. But I think the graphics cards are still like a real issue. Um, so there was some talk. I don't know who he heard it from, or he spoke to someone. I don't think this is a thing that has been confirmed to happen or anything. It's not even a thing. I don't think. But he mentioned about should Nvidia spin off its graphics division, and I think this came up more because they're so AI focused now that they're not as bothered about their gaming revenue side. So gaming division, the GeForce division, just because they're so focused on AI, and that's I think maybe where most of their money is coming from now. So yeah, so maybe if they just want to focus on the AI side of things and the data center side of things, servers, all that, rendering and things, maybe they might decide to spin off GeForce if they're not as interested, and maybe then GeForce, if they Nvidia spin off GeForce into its own like separate business, separate entity, maybe they can just then focus entirely on gaming stuff. I don't know whether Nvidia would still own them or whatnot. That side of things, I'm not sure, but maybe yeah, if they were to split the gaming division, yeah, they wouldn't have to be like competing with Nvidia's sort of internal AI focus or whatever. And they can just focus on the gaming side of things and the gaming and the 3D art and rendering and stuff like that. So maybe it might be interesting. Maybe they'd be a bit more competitive then, because I guess it would be smaller because they're not within like a giant company like Nvidia. But yeah, I don't know. It might be interesting. I would be extremely surprised if it did happen, especially anytime soon. And I would be extremely surprised if they split entirely from Nvidia, but maybe they'd be like just their own thing under Nvidia or something. I guess that's kind of what they are now, but Nvidia, it's like it was their main thing until like a year or two ago, I think. But yeah, I'm not really sure. Just have to see. And I think this was revealed at the next one here at the PlayStation showcase. We've seen a bit more about it, but it's PlayStation, so Sony PlayStation's Project Q, I think it is, streaming handheld. So I think some people point out a few issues with this. So it relies entirely on Wi-Fi. Doesn't seem to have cellular, like a cellular data connection or anything, as far as I can tell. It's like basically just a screen with the control things on it. But yeah, it's just entirely for streaming. I don't know if it would do PS4, but PS5 within your household to the device. So it looks like it's going to have a 3 or 4 hour battery, which I guess if you're at home doesn't seem too bad, but it seems a bit borderline if you're not able to use your PS5 for some reason, or you want to be out of the room or whatever. You 3 to 4 hours. I mean, it kind of seems like a decent amount of time, but and I guess you could have it plugged in, but it like if you want to play like for ages, like a whole day or something, like on a weekend or whatever, it just seems 3 to 4 hours isn't the best. Considering I think the Steam Deck, depending on what you're doing, has like 2 to 8 hours. Yeah, depending on what you're doing, but obviously something like a Steam Deck or Asus ROG Ally can do a lot more stuff because it's basically a handheld PC, Windows and whatnot. So it doesn't need internet connection to function and doesn't rely purely on streaming content for another nice device. But the Project Q does seem like it's going to be that. So I don't think it's going to have its own. I guess it would have like its own like SoC, system on a chip, like processor and maybe graphics, just to and maybe a little bit of RAM and storage and things, just to handle like the streaming. But I don't know, maybe not. Um, just have to see in that side. seems like the pricing is quite uncertain at the moment, but I've heard rumors of £150, $150, which is, I guess, I mean, it doesn't. I couldn't imagine they'd sell it for much more than, much less than that. I could only ever see it being higher than that. But even at that sort of price point, 150 to 200, I think that's a bit concerning. Considering it's simply, as far as we can tell, a streaming device with a screen and the controller add-ons. So I guess you may as well just stream your PS5 or PS4 to your smartphone. I think you can do that now with PS Remote Play and like use a remote controller, like a mobile, not remote, mobile little Bluetooth or controllers that you can click onto your phone. So you may as well just do that maybe. But yeah, we'll have to see with that. We also got Apple's VR headset releasing. I think it's $3,500, which seems a bit wild to me. Is it really that much better than the Oculus or Meta headsets? I don't know, but yeah, that's a lot of money. Just have to sort of see when reviews come out of that. Yeah, not. I've used Meta Quest 2. I think it is a friend of mine. He's got one and used that. It's quite fun actually. It's quite cool. But I haven't got one myself. I think you can hook the Meta ones up to a PC. I'm guessing you can with Apple as well. I would hope so for that much money. I know the PlayStation VR 2 you can't yet, and whether you will in the future, I'm not sure. But the PlayStation VR 1, I think you can. So yeah, maybe in the future I'll get one, but I've just not seen the need to yet. Meta Quest 3 was also revealed. I think that's 500, so considerably cheaper at $500-ish and pounds. Seems like that's an improvement over the second one, I guess, as far as I can tell. From the specs and things, apparently 40% smaller, so that's quite impressive, I think. But yeah, again, we'll just have to see how it goes. I don't think either of these are out yet. I think they're coming out fairly soon. But yeah, maybe update a bit on that, if how good they are or whatnot from reviews and things. But especially with the Apple one being that much money, $3,500, it seems like quite a lot. So yeah, well, you would hope for that price it would be pretty good. And yeah, that's sort of coming to the end of the video now. The next video still sort of thinking about and working on, just seeing if my friend he's able to come on for that one. If not, the next one will be the one after that. And yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I'm sort of having a sort of thought at the moment in the next few weeks of what to do with reviews and lists and things, and what to do about these episodes, whether to split them up or not, and maybe change the format around a bit. But yeah, just have to see over the next few weeks while I sort of figure that out. But they stay the same for the next few at least. This sort of format, and yeah, try and work out with my friend about coming on for the next one. We'll discuss games and things. And yeah, I think I'm going to throw an end video quote into this one, because Rome has there's some general general as an army general quotes in the game. So I'll be reciting two speeches from two separate generals. One will be from one of the Roman generals, and the second one will be from one of the Greek generals. So this might be a bit interesting. See how I sound. So yeah, I'll start with the Roman general. These are direct quotes, and they're like battle quotes, pre-battle speeches. So they'll say these before you click deploy or battle. So yeah, I get started with the Roman general. Let us offer prayers to the gods for victory, and then let us arm ourselves to the teeth, just in case the gods aren't listening. That was the first one. And then the Greek general. This one's a bit more comical, I guess. Just a battle is never an easy thing, especially before breakfast. Never mind time enough to feast when we have driven these dogs back to their kennel. So that's those two. Hope you liked them. But yeah, that's the end of the video now. So as usual, if you wanted, you can give feedback. You know how to like, dislike, comment. As always, much appreciated. And if you enjoyed my video and commentary, yeah, feel free to subscribe. And that's obviously really appreciated. And yeah, indicates that people are enjoying this content that I'm putting together, which is great. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll be back again soon.